So this video is likely to get overlooked, and that's because the topic itself is really easy to overlook. That's mostly due to the fact that it's always a lot more fun to buy the main thing, whether it's the rifle or the scope, but it's a lot harder to justify the support gear that goes along with it. So jumping right into the topic, today we're going to be talking about field maintenance kits specifically for AR rifles and for scopes. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet to the point. We all got a lot going on during the holidays, myself included, so I don't want to waste your time or mine. The essence of this is that I like things that are versatile and multi-purpose. I did a video not too long ago discussing bivy systems for sleeping, and that did really well, and I think it's because people are truly interested in things where you can hunt, hike with, be able to LARP with, and there's a similar story to be said when it comes to this type of gear. I think for a lot of us, when you start this journey, you buy your first handgun or your first rifle and you think, man, I really got to keep this clean and have a maintenance schedule for it. And so you buy a whole bunch of stuff from your local Bass Pro, Cabela's, Shields nowadays. And then a lot of that stuff just ends up sitting in your garage because it's not really portable. There's not really an easy way to be able to take it with you anywhere. So then it's stationary and set in one fixed place. And then you add to the fact that you end up just buying more and more stuff. You need different bore solvents, and then you thought you run out of one thing of CLP and you buy another, and then your bristle starts to go bad and you have to buy a 30 cal brush, but I don't want to buy the brass brush, I need to buy the nylon brush. And so stuff keeps adding and adding up, and then all of a sudden you have drawers of cleaning stuff. Meanwhile, at the same time, there's this group on the internet that loves to parrot this advice that guns don't need to be cleaned. I just run the ever-living crap out of them day in, day out. I haven't cleaned this thing in 2 years. I can't even see my bolt carrier anymore. And they say it with a point of pride to the point where you actually start to think, hey, maybe I don't need to clean guns. But newsflash, I promise you, it's good to clean your guns. You don't have to be OCD about it and clean it after every range session, but especially for someone that's into SPRs, precision rifles, it's really important that you take care of your stuff because your groups depend on it. Then you add to that fact that a lot of people are getting more and more into scopes, whether it's scoped carbine or they're putting a high power scope on the bolt action that they've had sitting in the closet, and they sort of treat it like a red dot where they think, hey, I can just kind of mount this to the receiver, set it, zero it, and forget it. But scopes are a lot more of a TLC type item where it's not necessarily that they're going to fail on you, but there's more variables going into it, whether it's the rings, the bases, even the turrets that you have to be able to reset from time to time. And so with that kind of started a journey for me to be able to say, like, hey, how can I have everything that I need on me all at once? Just being able to keep it in a simple backpack. Maybe I'm putting it into a butt pack. Maybe I have it in a ruck, or I can just have it in my car. But I need to have the stuff with me at all times. And so the moment you've all been waiting for, I have with me 2 pouches that essentially carry everything that I need. The first one here is a cleaning kit pouch, and this was sort of inspired at the time by T-Rex Arms, still back in the day when Lucas was there and they actually had good ideas and were ethical. And the second one here is a glorified Fix-It Sticks pouch that I've beefed up with some additional items. So within the Fix-It Sticks AR kit, you have a variety of bits that are common to the platform and also ones that are very specific just for most scope mounts. You also have some attachments here to be able to clean with, whether it's a brush or your bolt cleaner kit or a pick. You also have the handles that are pretty ubiquitous with Fix-It Sticks that you can put together and then attach, some of their drivers to. Now here on this other side, these are things that I bought separately and made sure to include in this. One of the most popular ones that you're going to see with Fix-It Stick is the adjustable torque driver. Now this is going to be from 0 or 15 all the way to 65 inch-pounds, and this is really critical for a lot of your scope mounting, whether it's the top rings or the base where your big bolts are going to be. This has been very clutch. It's very accurate too. I've had a Wheeler fat wrench and that actually crapped out on me after about a year or two of hard use, all that use as a consumer in a garage. But if you're going to do something like this, right, you also want to make sure that you have all of the nuts and the bolts to be able to go with it, right? So I also have this bit here, and this bit aligns with the Nightforce Ultra mount scope mounts that I have in order to be able to do that base nut or bolt or whatever you want to call it. Make sure that I have it properly torqued up to that 65 plus inch-pound mark and that it's properly torqued, or that I can remove it if I need to. Beyond that, some things you want to have is a way to be able to level your scope out in the field. Let's say you take a dive because you're on a hunt and your scope goes down and you think, hey, it's probably lost its zero. Maybe you have the time, later that day to be able to re-zero it, maybe at base camp or if you're just by your car. And I like to have a way to be able to do that. Now, this isn't going to work for every scope mount, but the Arasaka leveling kit is not something that doesn't cost a lot of money. It fits and slots right into here, and it's a really accurate way that's repeatable, and I've personally found to be very successful. You just have to have the right scope and mount combo that allows to have at least one of these two be able to fit it. You have your bigger one that's going to have, you know, a higher clearance, and then you have a smaller one here that's going to be for when it's a tighter clearance from your scope to the body or the rail. Now beyond that, there's also a good way to just be able to make sure, hey, are things actually level? This is probably a fairly crappy level, but it's still good to have just put it on the top turret and at least have a reference point. So then as far as the cleaning kit is concerned, there's a lot that goes in here. It's mostly the essentials, but I can kind of go and break it down very briefly for you. First and foremost, always got to have a thing of CLP. This is nice because it has a really thin applicator. It's kind of fragile in that regards, but it's a good trade-off, especially if you wrap it in something like this. And this is a, you know, giant lens cleaning kit. Or cloth, I should say. This was one, I guess at some point I had a Swamp Fox optic, and this is something I actually almost use and set down as sort of a mat just to be able to keep things organized, and less because I'm going to be using it, you know, to clean off anything and everything. Beyond that, got a bore snake. Now, even though I have a 308 and a 223, I just bring the 223 bore snake with me because I think in a pinch I could use it for both. It's also important to have ways to be able to clean off your scope lens, especially, you know, with these drops, to be able to keep things from fogging up, or if you got gunk on there. And then if you have to do some field work and let's say reapplicate your hand guard, your scope mount, whatever that looks like, make sure you have some blue Loctite on hand. I keep these in a bag because I don't want this to get all sludged up and then ruin everything that's in the cleaning kit. Also, we got ourselves a basically a lens cleaner for your scope, right? You have the actual brush to be able to get off all the dust, and then you have this side that's a little bit more of like an eraser just to be able to do the fine tuning and cleaning. You'll find here there's actually a tiny little field repair kit for the AR platform. There's a lot that can go wrong, right? Let's say your bolt carrier group takes a dump on you, and having like an extractor upgrade kit with the O-rings and some of the small springs is beneficial. Same when it comes to all those miscellaneous items that could go wrong, whether it's in your trigger package, you know, your buffer retainer, all of those things. This is like 20 bucks in parts, but it pays big dividends for when something goes out and you're, you know, dedicating a weekend to something. Not much to be said here. This is just cleaning cloths to be able to go with the CLP, or let's say you just got to wipe down something in a pinch, especially something small. I make these pretty tiny in case I need to push these through the actual bore. Cleaning brush, this is sort of a redundancy since the Fix-It kit has something like that. A rapid rod. Now this one is actually somewhat interesting. This is something that's deployable, and you can build it up, and then you have a full length rod to be able to shove through your bore. Now I think there's some hesitancy in using this as an actual cleaning device because I have seen some small ridges where they connect, and it looks like those could really damage your bore. So I have this more to be able to push out a stuck casing than it is as a dedicated like Dewey rod replacement. Last but not least, I have this tiny little AR tool from Wheeler. So I'd really urge you to kind of put some time together and try to consolidate on all of your gear and maybe dial in and get something like this built. This is also kind of neat in the sense that it's a combination of a lot of small parts. So even though Christmas is pretty fast approaching, a lot of us guys have never come up with what to actually send to someone. So let's say, you know, that cousin of yours or even your wife of like, hey, what do you want in your stocking? So you might have some ideas from this video, and you might be able to send her a quick link from Amazon or Joe Bob or wherever you want to go, or go to Shields. So that's going to wrap up this video, and it's also going to wrap up the first year of Truth and Freedom Ministry. I am so thankful for everybody that's decided to hop on this over the last 6 months and see where things started from to where they're at now. I never would have thought that the channel would have gotten this much exposure and that much success, and a huge part of it has to do with just the thoughtful audience that has been consistent in coming to the comments, really providing their thoughts. I've tried to be attentive to everybody that's commented, whether it's something I agree with or not. I really value all of your contributions. So thank you for making this first year a truly memorable one. Next year is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the world of competition, things like the Tactical Games regional event, which I'm going to have to do a lot of physical fitness preparation for. I'll be going to a Utah Spark match, which is a precision gas gun match that I'm doing a lot of preparation for. I'll also be diving into the world of CCW, prepared citizenry, and talking about this almost from a perspective of somebody that came from a restricted state into a free state, and everything that would be beneficial for someone to learn that might be in a similar spot. Last but not least, I have had a lot of exposure to the point that there have been companies that have reached out to me and wanted to be able to send me some products to be able to review. And in full transparency, I have accepted some of that because I do think it is an overall benefit to you. And if I didn't feel that way, I wouldn't be doing it. So stay tuned for a lot of that, but there's going to be a deep dive into the world of thermal, as well as a 2 to 12 optic from Vector that I'm going to be running in a lot of those competitions over the next year. So in closing out, I would really like to know your thoughts. How does one balance out being able to make the relationships and be able to do thorough product reviews without necessarily becoming the shill that you hate, that you clearly see that just pushes things like Arkin and pushes things from all of those companies that you clearly can represent and identify as, that guy loves affiliate codes, right? That's something that I'm really interested in kind of understanding. And so if you stuck around for that long, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas. The Lord is the center of all of this, and it is the reason and the motivation for why I'm out here almost at dusk. And so I'm trying to do this as a steward for Him, for you. So it's been a fun year. Can't wait to talk to you in the next one. Happy 2026.